Family, our midweek encouragement for today, it takes us into the third part of our discussion of Jesus' teaching on the prodigal son. Take a look at Luke chapter 15, 20 through 24. And he arose and came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fatted calf and kill it. And let us eat and celebrate, for this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now, Jesus says that while the prodigal was still a long way away from the family home, his father saw him, and you and I need to know that God watches over us. Take a look at these verses from Psalm 121, 5 through 8. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The Lord watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. The father saw his son coming, and Jesus says that the father had compassion on him. The father's attitude towards his son had not changed. He loved his son and longed for his son to come home. Compassion is from the Greek word sploncha, and it literally means to feel it in your gut. The father was moved by his powerful love for his son, and so he ran to his son. You know, usually in the Bible, we read about people running to God. For example, Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs into it and is safe. We usually read in the Bible about people running to God. But here, in the parable of the prodigal son, Jesus teaches that the father ran to his son. And when the father reached his son, he threw his arms around him and hugged him tight and kissed his cheek and held him so as to never let him go again. The father's reception that this son received was more than the son could have ever hoped his father would do. The son prayed that his father would take pity on him and receive him back as one of his servants. But instead, the father threw a party. Now, we need to pay attention to the three items mentioned next in the parable. First, the father puts the best robe on the son. This makes me think of how the robe that the prophet Elijah wore represented his calling in God. So this father wraps his son in his calling. You and I have a calling from God to live for him. Believer, wrap yourself in God's call on your life. Next, the father puts a ring on the son's hand. This ring represented belongingness. It was a ring with the family name on it. With that ring, the father was saying, You are my son, and I want everyone to know it. This is my son. He bears the family name. And lastly, the father puts shoes on the son's feet. In the book of Ephesians, in chapter 6, it describes the full armor of God, and the shoes are described this way. And as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. The prodigal's father put the shoes of forgiveness on his son's feet. Our look at this third section of the parable of the prodigal son ends with the father making a proclamation about his son. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. You know, Jesus also taught that whenever a person turns from their sin and comes home to God, that there is rejoicing in heaven. And this section of the parable ends with a celebration for the son who has returned. You know, no matter how far we have strayed, no matter where we have been or the mess we have gotten ourselves into, God is always ready to welcome us back home. Why would God do that? Why would he forgive us and rejoice at our returning to him? It's because God loves us. Well, God bless you. I'll see you next time.